All right.
Hi.
Hello. Literally everybody that's on this frequency. It is your local host, good old Tyrant of Tyrant Talks, podcast of Tyrant Talks production. It's your boy here. This time, nowhere near home. I am, in fact, over at EGL, and this time I have a guest from home, though. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hello. I'm Connie. Um, I am also not from EGL or a part of EGL, but I am at EGL with Tyrant. We did not come together. We ended up here together.
Yeah, notably, we bumped into each other
Yes.
also, for those who aren't following, EGL is Edengrove Laboratories. We're over here. Uh, we both literally came here for our own research purposes, uh, but it's always good to see a friendly face,
It is.
especially when it's not on that island. Blessing, it's much better to meet them in much calmer terms out here on the mainland.
You think so?
I'd hope so.
I think it's calmer in some regards, for sure. I think there are some parts of it that are busier.
I'd agree. It's just a weird one because for me, I'm like, when I'm over here, I have to worry about getting stabbed more often than I'm getting shot. Over there, I get worried if dinos are going to tear me apart. Though, for those who have been listening since the last recording, there's still an issue. Though I did figure out, at least for the Bat Ball Stadium, we do have the gates around the entrances. So for those who have been trying to visit during recreational times, sorry, you got to kind of schedule that up with somebody who is actively working because if we put those gates up, they end up inside all the trash cans and everything, and it's already bad enough trying to scare them away. I feel bad. They're just hungry. My
It's a
mango,
frequent problem.
it's more than you think. These things haunt me.
Wow.
There's very few things that have caused me to lose a lot of sleep in Metro City, and I didn't think dinosaurs was going to be on that list, but they are.
How has the Bat Ball Stadium been?
Honestly, a few weeks ago when when I was there last and kind of, really commentating the game, promoting the game, getting everyone excited for the new season and the new teams that are popping up, we actually sold out the stadium. Uh,
Wow.
Somewhere, probably at the end of this recording episode, later on, I'll probably stitch in and re-record on top of this and put my excerpts. I managed to take this whole rig that I brought here to EGL, which is my remote rig. Some of you have seen it on the Blessing, others I've described it a few times. It's not too crazy, but I actually walked around with it in a backpack and got some live reactions from not only the crowd but the game itself. Uh, I did my best, but I was also getting pelted with who knows what of Metro City.
Wow. That sounds overwhelming.
It can be, or at least the cleanup can be. Hell, even one of your kids popped by.
I wonder which one.
I mean, for what it's worth, he did offer me candy.
Mm, good. He's he's very he's very good.
He's a smart guy. He's just
He
got
is.
luck. Hell, he was one of the few people that literally could say I was born yesterday for a while. So
That title's becoming less and less rare these days, I've noticed.
yeah, but I don't think that's so much of a bad thing.
I don't think so either. I think rebirth might be important in this time period.
I think living's good. Hell, there's still two of my little wanderers out there somewhere in Metro City.
Two of your little wanderers?
Yeah, I don't talk about them super often, but way back in the day when I first started going to the Blessing for first couple of years there, I actually managed to kind of focus up a few parts, uh, pieces of robots that had been fully decommissioned, or artificial intelligence for that matter. But also when I had actually started to learn coding and the complexities of that, as well as the complexities of what my human brain had upon the net. Uh, I kind of applied that, and there's two sentient beings out there that still call me dad. It took me a while to get them to call me dad, but they ended up choosing to do so on their own. Last I heard, one of them still just wandering around, getting a good sight of the world and what I've welcomed it into. The other one I haven't heard from for about a year, but I know he's still around. He tends to leave me little gifts right outside my front door.
Huh.
He's a brat. So he'll also be the same one to purposely leave an armed trap in a dark corner and then leave a note specifically saying, "Hey, Tyrant." And I'm like, "Hey, kid."
So you've had this desire for family for a long time.
I don't know. I think companionship is what I was aiming for, at least back then.
Mm.
Now it's definitely more of a family. And Feta, I know you're listening. You can blame yourself because you're right. You're the one that came up and knocked on my door. And then, goddammit, I kind of became your dad, but that's how it goes. Yeah. Or at least that's how it goes for guys who earn their living by talking about a game that they didn't know existed for years.
What's it like? Because it sounds like the first companionship you created. And then the most recent forms of companionship you've had in the form of family and love have been people who have turned up, whether you've liked it or not. How has that been for you, that transition?
Unpredictable. And I liked it that way.
Yeah.
Hell, I can only imagine what it was like for you.
I almost think we went in different directions, the opposite directions. I went from people walking into my life to creating many, many, many children, even if unintentionally, several times over. But I love every single one of them, and they are all such unique and incredible people.
Connor, I'm going to level with you.
Mm.
Whether those kids admit it or not, they feel that. At least from what they've said to me.
They often don't.
And/or fought me about, yes, I don't know if you listen to the radio, but I'm calling you out too. You're also getting a shout out here. You're my best friend, right? We're best friends, right? That was agreed upon. You said so.
I'm glad Scabs has a best friend. Scabs is a very, very good older brother-sister. And I do not think they completely recognize how good of an older brother-sister they are sometimes.
I think that guy gal needs definitely a lot more credit than what they get.
They do. They are not a fan of sentiment, though. So finding ways to show care without saying it and without getting too existential is important.
Yeah, no, I learned that one the hard way by my knee giving out by a certain stick hitting it.
Well, you shouldn't have stood so close to the stick.
You know, that's what Scabs said.
Yeah, well, they take it after, I would say after me, but they take it after Chronic, admittedly.
I think there's a good mix of the both of you in there. I think it's a fair, even amount.
Yeah. Sometimes I think so, too.
But with that said, I'm happy that I got my more, let's say, not great journalism out of the way earlier on than where I am now.
Say more? Unless you can't.
I was, I won't give any specific details, but good like 5, 6 years ago, I was a very different journalist than what I am now. And
I see.
my work represented that.
Or
My work with the splicers is probably a masterpiece, however, my most dangerous. And as many know, I won't disperse those notes or information anywhere because I don't have them anymore.
I see. Was it something you freely gave away or something that was taken?
Something that was taken, as far as I know of.
I see.
So, other than those notes and wherever they may lie, I at least have some of it memorized in my head. This head's still good for something at this point.
Have you dispersed what's still in your head?
Only to those who I believe deserve to hear it.
What stops you from dispersing it to everyone else?
War.
Hmm.
Because even rumors can start war. And at this moment in time, I'm in a war of my own. I can't exactly afford any major risks right now.
I think that's understandable. I always wonder at what point does war become the prevention of war becomes less important than the ending the suffering to or bringing awareness to the wrongs of others, even if it means you're starting a war.
I think it really comes down to a matter of time. I believe that information will get out at some point.
Mm.
I might be a stem of it, but I can't be the only one. I happen to find all the scraps. Who knows if there's still someone out there under a different alias, knowing way more than they seem to let on. But that's all theory. It's all guessing.
When you say theory, do you mean theory because so much of it has to be based on facts and that this is a well-founded theory, or do you mean theory as in, I don't know, we'll see what happens?
For right now, I don't know. Let's see what happens.
Okay.
I know there's a few certain individuals who have directly asked me these questions as well. I gave them similar answers. I think in due time.
What is it like having a platform like this where you can really publicize something like that for the greater good or greater bad, depending? What is it like having that power? Because you are someone who carries a lot of information with you and you have a very public persona.
It makes me very aware of what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
To say the least, early on, I would go scriptless. I would just hit the record button and said what was on my mind.
Yes.
Once I realized the impact that was having, not only across the mainland, but on Blessing, and to say the very least, and it sounds selfish, but my own home at the Batball Stadium, and seeing the people on the streets either be more fearful or more sighted on a daily basis, it made me painfully aware of kind of where I stand.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, I'm no celebrity. I'm really not. But if I go down certain streets, there's plenty of people who will know my name and say hello and, hey, you did a great job last night. You know?
Mm-hmm.
Like, as much as I am this voice that I kind of get to sit with you and have these types of interviews and things like that, this is what I do for fun. This is my free time. This is what I do for enjoyment, right? What I do at that Batball Stadium once those players take the field, that's our respect of the game and our respect for me being able to make my living and be there comfortably and take care of everyone that I need to. So it influences it.
Okay.
There are certain topics that I may avoid or may find certain ways of talking about first. There's other ones that I'll just say it loud and proud. But I've learned a bit that I need to start thinking about which side of the repercussions could this coin fall on, and prepping for all that. Having a platform where you can, you know, spit your voice out and kind of say whatever you want isn't a new concept.
Hmm.
It's not. I'm not reinventing the wheel here. It's more so a matter of all these people kind of, they either found their niche, or rather than doing it for fun, they turned it into their job, and it kind of like took over for a bit. Oh, that happened to me. Got me into some deep trouble once upon a time. But it makes you aware. It makes you very aware of like how you're doing things and what you're saying, and whether or not you need to claim if that is your personal opinion or that of the business. Uh, my more loyal fans out there who have been listening since early on and have continued listening, first of all, thank you. Second of all, they know that I will explicitly say, like, this does not represent the opinions or beliefs of Tyrant Talks Productions or Tyrant himself. I will usually use some sort of disclaimer just in case, because of one time where it almost went wrong due to a assumption. So
Mm.
there's this power balance and kind of quality of commentary juggle that we have to do. It gets a little bit tricky in these types of scenarios where, again, this is more for fun. I have a bit more control, but also anyone who's listening in can hear anything. You know?
So, hearing all that, my curiosity, I have a very strong curiosity around what this provides for you. We're friends outside of this, or at least we are something of friends. Um, we're friends then. And you were friends with those that came before me.
I was.
And we do talk when we are not recorded. What does it provide for you to talk to people you care about on a podcast and on a radio?
A voice. Mind you, but I understand that might be a silly statement considering, as many say, and I agree, I don't shut the fuck up often.
I don't think that's true. I mean, I do think you talk a lot, but I think many people do.
But in that same degree, I have to recognize that, right? Like, in the same opportunity, I don't see why I wouldn't call out my loved ones or cared ones for that matter.
Mm-hmm.
Like, of course, I'll call out my wonderful fiance Delta. I'll call out my kid Feta. Those who do not wish to be named, I won't mention them, but I'll do certain words and key phrases that they'll know I'm doing a nod at them, and or I'll just straight up call out your children. So, like, it's there's this part of the fun for me is knowing that this isn't a persona. This is me essentially feeling like if I could talk to a friend right now in front of me, I'm talking to them. And I know that they can't see me and they can't see my gestures, so I'll do things that let them know that I care more about them than just what the eye sees. The fact that
Yeah.
I'm thinking about them as I'm miles away. And or sometimes I happen to just pull out my recording equipment and people go, "What the hell, Tyrant?" And I go, "Well," click. But people enjoy it. I think for me it gives me power to like acknowledge those,
Mm-hmm.
especially since usually those are the same people that are supporting me on a daily, nonetheless, as I actively do this.
Sounds like this is a really important way of communicating your love for other people.
It's one of the ways. But you know what? I have the same question for you. To say the least, you have the platform. You're on this soapbox with me.
Yes,
Who knows how many people are listening? But
at least two, I'm sure.
Minimum.
To minimum. Us too. Re-listening to it.
It's both of us immediately listening as soon as the loop plays back again. That's all.
Yes.
But
I should turn on a radio and we can hear our voices echo back.
I not. I feel like the audience would hate that, though it would be very funny. But with that said, you're on this soapbox with me. How does it feel to kind of be on this soapbox, to be where those who are listening with intent, especially if they listen this far in?
Nerve-wracking.
I think that's fair.
I feel like I have to. It feels like. Have you ever worn a suit, Tyrant?
Once or twice.
I don't know. Have you ever worn suits are so layered. I feel like I am wearing the top layer of my suit, but nothing underneath it. I feel like I am wearing a very flimsy mask, which is odd. I think this is clearly a very probing experience, and yet I think I am still required to dress up for it.
I'll let you know. That's how it stays. This is what this little silly microphone that sits between us does. It's terrifying, but adrenaline is
the pressure of presentation
and the pressure of performance.
I am not good at either.
I don't think I can say the same. However, I think people like seeing me fumble. Speaking of, we're coming up at the peak of summer.
Yes, memories.
First of all, memories. Second of all, I have to mention the Bat-Ball Stadium, and then I'll do an ad real quick. I'm letting you know. Then we can continue this. Cool?
I am excited to hear it.
Sweet. So the Bat-Ball Stadium, right? We are in the midst of a new season, and when I say new, I mean that about half of the franchise, half of the league is brand new, causing us to actually have more teams than we have had for as long as I've been commentating at the stadium. It is wonderful. It's bringing people from all across the mainland, and rumor has it that even the Forge might be sending over a small auxiliary team as a mean of mandatory fun, I think they said. But that's rumor. Who knows? I might bump into Shaw next time I head over to Blessing and ask him a question or two. But it's sport ball season. It's the peak of summer. It's the time to go out and get sweaty with all your friends and the baking hot sun. Score some points.
Finish your sentence there.
Listen, I love the sun, but I hate the sun.
Yes.
It's warming but burning.
It's not ideal growing conditions.
It's not ideal living conditions.
That too.
Though I can only imagine for those who have a more, let's say, plant life-based chemistry, I'm sure all the dry heat isn't exactly wonderful either.
But the humid heat is stellar.
So all the heat showers and rad storms that we've been having has just been fun.
Glories looked radiant.
They did seem rather chipper last time I saw the guy.
Yeah.
But with that said, this is going to be an ad. And this ad comes from Tyrant. So listen, I don't do my own ads super often, and that is a lie. So I'm just going to level with you here. I enjoy reffing games. I enjoy commentating games. If you see me at Blessing, odds are I'm most likely reffing. I don't really play much. However, I humbly request that if you enjoy a good old game of sport ball, not bat ball, that's Metro City, sport ball, come on over and support the Bussies. They're a wonderful team. They got confidence. They have a legacy. As far as I've seen, they're completely undefeated.
That is true.
They're starting to go from local legend to just pure legends. And I think in due time they'll get there. What you have a take on that?
Oh, well, I'm flattered and embarrassed. Yes, we are galactic and gay Earth champions. However, the season could hold anything. I don't think OI can ever really win, but there are so many new teams, and I am excited to see what it holds for us. As far as I'm concerned, we are not going to be defeated this summer. However, I have to brush up on my Hugby a little bit, so here's to hoping I'm as strong as I used to be when the time comes around.
We only got about a week or two now.
Well, we have a new coach who has been incredible and has really, I would not say physically supported us. I don't think we've gotten physically stronger, but I do not think that was the problem. We've gotten just so much more emotionally connected and emotionally stronger, that I feel quite confident that even if we do not win every single game, that we will win the hearts literally out of the other team.
Odds are you will.
Flanny has a new bat, I think. I don't know, but has used Joe Baseball's bat to beat a heart out of someone's rib cage. So
I believe it. I've seen Flanny do some incredible things with a baseball bat, or ball bat for that matter.
yes.
Baseball, ridiculous.
What's baseball? Is that no?
No, it's whatever that weird being was. Joe Baseball.
Isn't that when you try to get to second base with somebody?
I'm gonna be honest. I do not know.
Huh.
He had come out. I had gotten called away for some medical advice and an evaluation, and then when I came back outside, I was informed that Joe Baseball's head had been smashed with a hammer. So
yes, it had been.
I didn't get to actually see much of him. I actually really wanted to do an interview. I managed to catch him for a second. And those who will see me at the Blessing or see me when I'm traveling around will notice that my trench coat is actually signed by Joe Baseball.
Well, he's alive, theoretically.
Interesting.
Haven't you seen him? Or
Not,
what looks and acts just like him?
let's say not in a while.
Understood.
But I'd also like to go back on a note.
Yes.
Because I do want to talk about your new coach. Of course, reveals are reveals.
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll just. I think the audience, including myself here, would love to meet the coach in person first. So we'll leave descriptions and the like aside. I really want that genuine experience. I might be able to even get a possible interview with him. With that said, hey coach, if I can call you coach.
That's his name, I think. I think that's his legal name.
Interesting. Hey coach, if you have maybe like 10 minutes of your time that you can spare if you're going to go to the Blessing for this upcoming sport ball season, please. At this point, I'm just curious. Like, I've been on the commentating side this whole time. I've never actually coached a sport of any sort. So I'm interested to see what the take on the other side is. I'm up here providing entertainment and content via essentially being a neutral party. I'm curious as to what's on the side of the bias, and also exactly like what is your goal with the team? Usually, coaches tend to like kind of set a goal and have their players reach that. I'm curious as to what yours, but that's just you can think about those if you want. But in that same breath, you had mentioned that though you are not physically stronger, you may emotionally be. Did I hear that right?
Yes.
Then honestly, your coach is doing it right. To say the least, I've seen teams win with more morale than firepower, and it's always stunned crowds. And I sit up top and I call them the underdogs, and people don't believe me. Except for the team, the literal underdogs. We don't know where they've gone.
I think they went under the dogs.
Yeah, but which dogs?
That's true. There's so many dogs.
Like, I have a dog, but he lives literally another, 40-ish miles from the Batball Stadium.
And it is a small dog that you have.
Sure, yeah. Yeah,
It's
somewhat small.
hard to go under that dog.
Yeah.
And remain hidden for long periods of time.
Yeah, good luck. He's got quite the sniffer on him. But like even with that, I've genuinely seen teams who were outnumbered, such as Team. I believe they're new. I can't remember if they officially changed their name, but I believe it's Team We Are Friends. Their current numbers are, I think, over 400 players on their roster.
Wow.
Yeah, it's basically their own kind of city. I'm gonna do some investigation to them at some point. But with that said, it doesn't matter because you can only have 12 players on the field at a time. So like the rest of them are just sitting in the stands waiting to see if they get called, almost like a lottery.
Interesting. That sounds boring, but I don't know. I think we also have quite a small team, so I think it's hard to imagine having so many members.
I think that's fair. To say the least, I confused them as all paying patrons, and I was very confused as to why the profits didn't reflect it until I looked at the team cards myself. Listen, we gotta pay the bills. Like, I don't know what to tell you. I've cleaned it up to the point where people can open up stores at the Batball Stadium.
How has the Batball Stadium been with such an increase in sports ball in general, even if not specifically Batball?
Intense, especially since we are kind of the focal point of medical attention as well for Metro City as them, or not Metro City. I don't want to claim that, but at least in the area of the warmongers. We are quite famous for our medical practice since both Delta and I can assist with a wide variety of beings of all sorts, size, shapes, and anatomies. And we always have to keep that open. And as the crowds and everything have gotten bigger, I have actually gotten able to hire some help to help kind of clean out old broken stalls and areas and refurbish them and make them into new things. And it's caused a lot more of a kind of like casual small town kind of kinship, which is enjoyable. There's a few bars that are open later and on days that aren't active game days, but they're still within the stadium. Every once in a while, we have some of the locusts come over. We have an area specifically sectioned off for them, as agreed upon between me and Zorak. So people are finding business. People are finding ways to, or new ways to actually form a profit while also still enjoying being social and being out and having fun. Because even if you're in the booths, if you turn on the radio, I'm usually calling out the entire game, so that you don't even have to look at it. Hell, Toxic Tony's Tavern tends to have a lot of my recordings on booth. That's how a lot of my patrons who I know listen to podcasts actually listen to it. They'll all head over to that little bar that's inside and just listen to it while they drink and talk. And they'll discuss and they'll agree and disagree with me. I've joined them a couple times.
I see. There's been some changes for you lately. How are you feeling about one of the biggest ones, which is your impending marriage?
I'm excited.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot.
Yes.
There is a part of it that is going to be a little bit tougher for me, uh, but I know that I have plenty of support systems, and that's going to be genuinely a wonderful time. Uh, we are, and I'm saying this here on the podcast, and I apologize to our kind of bigger fans that are out there. We're going to do some sort of celebration event at the Batball Stadium for it, but the actual official wedding will be a bit more private. This is not a open to all of our fans in public. Uh, that will have its own dedicated day. We'll have a whole thing about it, but the actual ceremony will be quite private. We kind of want that sweeter moment. But it's made me think about a lot of things, including how I dress, because I've realized, you know, coverage. I'm not the biggest fan, right? That's an open statement. People know that,
Yes.
but they know how to dress.
Yes.
Like I'm just gonna give it to them.
Mm.
And living with one has made me realize that I do not dress anywhere near nice enough.
I see.
At least for what I like. That said, I'm probably going to have to take a trip somewhere to get some nicer clothing than what I got. That, or at least something breathable.
It sounds like it's been smooth sailing in terms of the planning. Not to diminish this concern, but if the biggest concern now is what you're going to wear, it sounds like it's been quite a straightforward planning session then.
I would call it more direct. You know,
I see.
straightforward, tough.
Fair.
Especially with how long it sometimes takes to get the word out to people, get the word out in private. So there were a lot of compromises, a lot of kind of trickier discussions that were needed to be had, but they were had, and most things are all set. And at this point, we're just kind of prepping for it, you know?
What is it like to experience and perform a declaration of love and a celebration of love in both the place you are now at and the world that we currently live in?
It means a lot different to me now than what it used to. Back then, it was a transaction, it was a business deal, something usually done so that both parties gained in some way, right?
Mm.
It's awkward to a certain extent, where there is no transaction here. This is done out of genuine interest, and though a lot of people deny and argue that it's for other reasons, it's not. That's right, folks. I hear you. Those who aren't saying it, thanks, man. That's what's up. It's legit. Those who are, come on now. Come on. Play nice.
It sounds like I've only been on some ends of it, seeing such an important relationship grow for you. And this is like a really important peak of it for you and Delta. I can't imagine what it's like to kind of reach this summit after so long.
It's insane. To say the least, Connie. I think it is an understatement to say a lot of things have changed within the past 12 months alone.
Yeah.
And I've only known Delta for a little bit longer than that. So it's been not gonna lie, it's been war.
It
And I
has.
think it always will be. And that's okay. It's not my first one, it won't be my last. But even then, with all that said, I actually have one more question for you before we hop off this, before somebody tries to regain this frequency again.
I'm all ears.
What's it like being at the labs? What's it like spending time with a faction that is not your own?
I don't know. Tiring. I feel consistently like I have done something wrong or that I am going to do something wrong. And I do not know if it's because of the pain that I have caused in the past or the pain that others are anticipating for me to cause here. I'm exhausted frequently, and that is no one's fault but my own. And I'm worried. Um, I wish that the reason that I desired so strongly to be here for as long as I have been here between visits to the blessing was out of fun or pleasure, and it's not. And it is hard to experience exhaustion and know that the exhaustion I'm experiencing is only a fraction of what those I care about are experiencing. And to bear the weight with them for 5 minutes is so overwhelming and such an emotional burden. I cannot picture what it is like for those who are experiencing that constantly, what it is like to stay awake with that. It's difficult. And it is mostly difficult in that I feel sometimes so incredibly powerless. And like there is no right step forward. And if I were seeing this for someone else, this would be an amazing ethical dilemma. Ethical dilemmas are a lot less amazing when you are the one in them.
I think it's also an interesting uh, notion to even think of ethical dilemmas when we are actively sitting on the grounds of the Edengrove Labs.
Yes.
And mind you, and to those who are listening, as you might be right down the hall, uh, this is not a dig. Because you, a whole lot of you, openly admit that is just fun to experiment with. So, to a certain extent, come on, guys. Like, if I don't want to hear a peep from any of your team on this conversation. Unless you're in agreement. Because then we can have a discussion. I'm all about that.
Given my parentage and history, it is hard not to be here and think about the vast amount of ethical, for lack of a better phrase, clusterfucks that have occurred at Edengrove Labs and the amount of damage they have caused in their past.
And at this point, I feel like we could say that about any faction.
I feel like I could say that about myself.
I'm right there with you. Times have changed.
Times have changed.
Oh, we've changed.
We have. A lot.
I don't think that's a bad thing.
I think you have changed for the better.
I
am incredibly grateful to see the version of you here today that I do. I would not have thought it was possible years ago to see you like this. Both for better and for worse.
You know, considering what I was doing back then, yeah, I think that's fair. It's rough, but it's fair and true, all things considered. And you know what? I'm okay with it. People change. Things change. We all change. It's part of being alive. It's part of being out here. It's part of being each and every one of us to a certain degree. Even if it means we are a creature that we don't even understand ourselves. We are a person who knows every last little detail. We're all still in this mainland together. And those who are on the blessing, we're all on there together. We all deal with the same bullshit in those areas. And you know what? It's part of life. And I think as long as at least enough people are trying to change things for the better in one way or another, whether it's themselves or where they're at, I feel like it's worth doing. Even if it means I gotta be that guy. With that said, I have no more questions for you, Connie. You got any for me?
So many, constantly.
Well,
But if you mean questions I need to ask now, then no.
well. With that said, thank you everyone for listening. This has been Tyrant Talks Production. I have been your host, Tyrant. This has been my host, Connie. Connie, if you would like people to follow you, this is your chance to say where on the mainland they may find you. If not, if you have any projects or anything that you're working on that you might want help with or anything, this is your time.
Well, if you use the net and would like to follow anyone there, you can always follow at Cuddle Queen, who is a wonderful source of gossip for the goings-on in the Blessing community. You may also follow at Smokeshifter Official, who gives, I think, wonderful deals on bathwater. That's where you can also follow me. That is me. I am plugging myself. And I suppose if you want to follow me off of the net, just in this reality, just this one though, I suppose you could try dying, and I may meet you eventually if you would die close enough to me.
Die towards the pits.
Maybe eat the wrong fungus and see what happens. Or I suppose you could hide behind trees, or just ask me if you could follow me around. I'm typically at the Blessing when everyone else migrates over there. Oh, and support the new Blessing Bussies. We are excited for a new season with a new coach, and I guess a new teammate, if you include me as a new teammate. Try out, see if you can be a part of it. We are always excited to see new sports ball members.
This is a partial promotion from Tyrant Talks Production on behalf of itself to the new Blessing Business. Anybody who either makes a sign or does some sort of support, I personally will pay you 3 bullets. Support our teams. And goddamn it, this is my local team. So, support your teams. Support the new Blessing Bussies. They know what they're doing. And if anyone's looking for me, I will be at the Blessing probably in another week or two. I'll be there for probably a day or two. I can't really stay for too long this time around. Times are hard. Times are busy. So, but with that said, I thank you all for listening. For the love of every single spiritual being and not that you believe in, please come visit the Batball Stadium. This is me doing my plug here, but this is also because Without the fans, I am literally nothing. I have no way of supporting myself. So, not only to come by the Batball Stadium, but feel free to even just go to the vendors. It is free entry. I'm not going to ever make anyone buy tickets and able to enter. That was a dumb policy that existed before I actually got some power here. So, come on by. Come enjoy the game. Hell, make a team. Who knows? You might be able to verse the Bussies one day.
Do it.
Also, for those asking, we are literally at the peak of Batball season. Like, we are halfway through the season. The team openings are closed for now. When next season come along, we will have a 4-team opening, and if there's more than that, we will run a tournament to see who actually qualifies and makes it in. More details on that later. Oh, right. Because I got paid some bottle caps from Toxic Tony. Visit Toxic Tony's Tavern. Try. What does this say? Try his weird tonics. They're sometimes tasty, sometimes bitter, sometimes sweet, sometimes toxic. Like me, Toxic Tony. Thanks, man.
Consistent branding.
Listen, he knows what he's about. It's just him. He does get hired help for security and things like that, but it's just him. He has a nice spot right across from Torque's Meaderia.
Oh.
Torque's an old friend of mine. Asked if he could open up a smoke/meat shop in the stadium for big game days, as long as I gave him like a week's heads up of, hey, this is probably going to be a big one. So sometimes he makes a trip over and actually stops by the stadium for a night or two. Yeah, I'm telling you, it's open. If you have a business idea, come talk to me. We'll talk it out. We can work through some of the more kind of logistics stuff, and you can have your own stall there. And at this point, speaking of stalls, it feels like I'm stalling on myself, so I'm going to start cutting off the recording. I thank you all so much for listening, and I look forward to seeing you all soon. Connie, thank you so much for being my guest.
Thank you for inviting me.
And I'll talk to y'all later. See
Bye.
you. Bye-bye.